So we're obviously in quarantine, and this has affected a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And how has it affected like your life and like your spirituality? Because at least from my perspective, it seems to be this sort of collective dark night of the soul for human beings just in general.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
We're all waking up during this time. And I think the great conjunction that's happening on Monday is going to be sort of like the icing on top of the cake with this whole thing, because there's a lot of change going on.
Yeah, and I think the Great Conjunction is going to be something that's so nice because it's happening in Aquarius, and I think it's going to be a huge awakening for many people just because it's like our two biggest planets. You know, that's why they call it the Grand Conjunction, is like it's our two biggest planets that are coming together right at like, I believe it's on the 1st degree of Aquarius that they're coming together, which is one of the signs that's ruled by Saturn because it's Saturn and Jupiter. So I think that that's going to be a huge awakening for people. Like our Aquarius is all about the conspiracy theories and all about like, you know, kind of awakening. It rules astrology. So I think a lot of people are going to have big spiritual awakenings during that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, even some people have said that the end of the Mayan calendar wasn't 2012, that it's actually, you know, 2020 right now, what we're going through.
Heard that same thing.
Yeah. So definitely heard some people mention that. And I do think it's going to be a big transformation for people. I don't think it's going to be anything bad though, because, you know, Jupiter's very benevolent. Jupiter's expansive. It's good. Saturn can be harsh, but I think that them two coming together, you know, you have Saturn about the limitations and stuff like that, but then you also have Jupiter, which comes right after Saturn, all about the expansiveness. And so I actually look at the planets in this perspective that they are basically the path of human consciousness. You know, you start with Mercury, this is an idea. Then you embody the emotion of it, which is Venus. And then you get to Earth, which is the physicality. We're manifesting the physicality. And then you get to Mars, which is, you know, we're taking action. And then you get to Saturn, which is, okay, we've taken action, we're getting some limitations, you know, and then you get to Jupiter, which is we expand out of the limitations. We notice that there's kind of a little bit more there. And then you get Neptune, which is our dreamlike ideas. Now we start to realize that there's more out there than we could have ever dreamt before. And that's why you get Neptunian, other side, Piscean energy, and then Uranus as well, which is like, now we're way outside of the box. We have all this unexpected stuff happening. And then you get to Pluto, which is this like shadow work. We've seen it all. And then you kind of reach that point of like, we're on the outer side of it. We can kind of see everything. And it's just this underworld sort of energy. But them two coming together when we have Saturn and Jupiter, I think that this is going to be an expansion for a lot of people's limitations. So I think that a lot of people, where they used to find boundaries, they're going to find ways to get outside of the boundary, basically. That's what I see this Grand Conjunction as. So yeah, where we used to feel like we were stuck, this is now the moment of realizing that we're not stuck. So even right now with quarantine, I think that we're going to notice after this, which is tomorrow, so the 21st, I feel like after tomorrow, we're going to notice a lot more ideas come up of how we can come out of this, how we can break free from the restrictive barriers that we feel like we now have on us. And I think it's going to be something that none of us really felt was coming, because Aquarius, it's ruled by Uranus. It's literally the sign of like the most unexpected, unpredictable things. And so I do think it's going to be, it's going to lead us into a direction we didn't think was really coming. That's what I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Eric's had a real bee in his bonnet over this whole aliens coming to town.
Hey, they're here. We may they may switch on that little light in their spaceship, and then the pineal gland will just activate, and we're like, hey, how did I forget this shit? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that sounds like an Aquarian type of energy.
For sure. Jen's an Aquarian.
Yeah. Are you? Oh, I love that.
She's Aquarius, so we're gonna start answering to her pretty soon.
Oh
you know
yes.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like the age that we are coming from is more earth energy, right?
Yeah.
So that's why there was an emphasis on, you know, materialism and things more grounded in that. And I feel like the Aquarian energy being more air, there's going to be more room for innovation. There's going to be more room for, you know, creativity.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's the sign of the humanitarian.
Yeah.
So it's time for us to focus more on the collective rather than individualistic stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes total sense. And I can even feel, just based off of the climate that we're in right now, emotionally, spiritually, physically, 3D, that it's transitioning into that. And that's the reason why I brought up quarantine, is because this whole thing has been the tower card for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, like we're all just sort of jumping off of this little ship that we've all been on for, several hundred, well, maybe 100 or 200 years, because I think that's as old as the United States is. And we're getting to a place where we're having to reevaluate the entire structure that we've all lived on. And with good reason, because, aside of this, if this didn't happen, we may have been or continue to be asleep to a lot of the sort of negative, destructive behaviors that we really embodied prior to this happening, including, the way that we had treated the environment, the way that we treated each other.
Exactly. Yeah. I so agree with that. It's helping a lot of people start to see that and also appreciate just being around other people. Because since we're in quarantine right now, a lot of us, we can't talk to the people that were so close to us. I think we have a much deeper appreciation for all walks of life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too, is that it creates this appreciation for the fact that we even have the ability to converse and connect.
Yeah.
Like me and Jenna, actually, we started this as a result of quarantine, as a way to kind of still, be able to teach and still be able to offer that sort of wisdom while people were in the confines of their own home. It's a really, really big blessing for us, especially like the people that we talk to. But I did notice just in the people in my life, there's this newfound appreciation for the fact that they even fucking exist at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now the one thing that I appreciate about quarantine, and I'm not looking at this in a sadistic way because there are negative aspects to it, but the positive is now we're on an even playing field. There's nothing that really separates us as far as like, maybe like, like the socioeconomic part of that. Because as long as you are in this and your mortality is being questioned because of something like a pandemic, you're all essentially by default the same.
Yeah.
Right? So now we're in this sort of like, not necessarily a survivalist position, but we're in this position to be a little bit more compassionate because this affects everybody.
Exactly. And there's not one person that it doesn't affect. And I think that really brings us together on a deep level.